Happy Snowmageddon, cyclone, bomb, nuclear, wind tornado. Here is a thing. I don't know what it's going to turn into, but I know there'll be some core strength, because there's always that. And there may be dogs. There could be a bunny if he decides to come out of his cage. And perhaps the ambient sounds of heat running in the background or the snowblower in the front of the house. So we're going to start on the back. And from your back, oh, by the way, if you want 2 blocks, grab 2 blocks or 2 books or 2 things that just are the same height off the ground. I would recommend highly getting something akin to blocks, even for your own home practice. So pulling the knees into the chest or knees out, and feel free to rock back and forth, and then outstretch the arms a little bit so the elbows still have a slight bend and your wrists and your fingers still have some looseness to them. And then let your right leg stretch out and straighten, let your left leg stretch out and straighten, and just to a point where you feel the stretch in the backs of the legs, not to where your absolute straightest leg position is. Just enough to get to sensation. And you may find that your legs aren't the same in terms of when you first feel that sense of stretch. And just doing this a few times, letting the arms float like your wrists were tethered to a fishing line from the ceiling. Now that could be scary if you're an actual fish. Take your feet down about as wide as your mat, at the very least wider than your hips. Let your knees knock in. Your hands and arms can now go in any position. And we'll just take some side-to-side movements with the legs. Give yourself an opportunity to explore the little places in between the ending spots, meaning as far as your knees can go off to the side being an ending spot. Try to find different ways to place your feet or slower, smoother motions. And then if you're feeling any weird stuff in the front of the hip joint where the leg bone might meet it, you could either avoid going to that position, or you could adjust your foot in such a way that the sensation changes. For instance, you can see my left foot right now. As I do this, I get this tiny hint of pinch there. So what I do is I move my foot in a plantar flexion, or like kind of if you were on your tippy toes, and that takes that movement away. So always consider that different feet positions can change negative sensations up into the hip joint. That goes as for standing poses too. And we'll pull the legs back in one more time, and this time you'll grab the backs of the legs. So even if you can grab the feet, like I can certainly grab my toes, but right now I'm just going to take it easy and not go to the place where I know I can go. Maybe I'll hold back. That might be better for the connecting points of my muscles. You can take this side to side. And we'll take the arms in between the legs. Take the hands together if you want in either like prayer hands, or you can do a Charlie's Angels type of position. I don't know which one I'll do. I guess I'll figure it out. And then your elbows are going to poke out and be your little thigh master. So as the legs, the inner legs touch the outer arms, now you might not be able to do this. You might be out here, and that's fine if just the hands can touch. So we're really only looking for the most comfortable spot that you can pull your knees all the way in, okay? So it doesn't matter if it's your hands that are touching and that's all you can get. The forearms, or you're able to get above the elbows. This is all applicable to you. So I'm going to press the hands in, and I'm going to press the legs in, so it's trying to close my arms. Now at this point I have to bend my arms a bit. Everyone probably should And then I'm going to put some pressure into my legs. So about 60% of the effort is coming from the opening of the elbows, and 40% of the effort is coming from the closing of the knees. So while the arms win, the legs are still putting up a good fight. And then once I get to the max spot where I don't feel pain and I can rest here, then I'll take a nice exhale, and then I'll put now 60% of the effort in the legs and 40% or so in the arms. So the arms are still working for sure, but the legs are winning here. Good. Try to take as long as you can. If you need a break, take the feet down on the floor and do those little windshield wiper motions that we just warmed up with. Otherwise, we'll keep going. So take an inhale, and on the exhale, let the belly draw up towards the ribs and allow the arms to do just a tad bit more of the work while the legs put in just a tiny bit less resistance than the arms are putting in effort. And then when you get there, you can breathe. You can breathe any time, really. But then start the effort on the exhale, and then this time the arms are doing their best, but they're not going to win the battle. The legs are certainly going to do it. And I would like to say that as you do this, you're probably taking another inhale, maybe two. Now we're going to try to count. So exhale, pull the belly up and in, and 3, 2, 1, 0. You can count it like this. 0, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, and we'll go to 4, 1,000. So again, when you need to rest, take the feet down. Otherwise, I'm going to do 2 more rounds of these, and I'm going to try to have this take 5 or more 1,000s. Breathing in, exhale, 0, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. Your legs should be shaking by now. That's how much effort they should be putting in. 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, and then 1,000, 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000. Okay, now I need a little bit of a break. So if you're like me and this bound angle position doesn't really serve you too well for any number of reasons, I'm going to take one leg out in the bound angle. The right leg is going to go out in bound angle. Left leg is more like in hook line position, so it's more neutral. I'm just going to let that sort of simmer. The right leg's going to simmer. Meanwhile, I'm going to let the left foot slowly inch its way out, fairly sneakily, until I feel I can get the left leg pretty straight without strain. So it might be here for you. For some people, it might go all the way out. And what we're looking for is pretty much no sensation in the front of the hip joint here. You might feel a little bit of a stretch in the inner groin or even up, above the joint. And then we'll slowly take that in, put both legs equal, and then I'll let the left leg go out now. You may need support from those blocks under each thigh, so that's a thought. And here we go. It just keeps inchworming and inchworming. And eventually my leg goes straight. Doesn't mean yours has to, or even that it should. You've got to test that out. So got no sensation in the front of the hip joint. The thighs, maybe feeling a tiniest bit of stretch. Maybe. Good. We'll come in. If you want to take both legs out, you can. Again, I know that position really doesn't rest too well on my body for very long. So I'm going to take my hands and grab the ankles or the outsides of the legs, whatever you're going for. And I'll use, this time, I'm going to be a lot more passive with my arms. Or my legs, I should say. And the arms are going to let the legs go out a little bit. So the legs are pretty passive. The arms are doing more of the work. You can do this one leg at a time, or one elbow is pushing out, so you've just got half your thigh master working. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, cool. Now take the legs up. You can do a little stretch now if you want to move the feet around. Good. So here comes the block. Now if you don't have a block, you're certainly welcome to use any object that has some solidity to it. If it's got a little give, it won't be a big deal. And then the arms will come out to the side, or they can come down here, and you can grab the underside of your mat. Knees are going to stay above the hips, but if you need a little relief or if your low back is really popping off the floor, you're going to want to pull the knees in more. So let's take a little look. Let's use the inhale to create a nice billowing of the entire underside of your rib cage. That's back to front to side. And then on the exhale, you might feel a little hugging and lifting from the very lowest part of your belly. And when I say belly, I mean like way down there, way down to where the front of the tailbone might be or the front of the sacrum is. So if you can access muscles that are that low and that deep, which you don't need a lot of effort, then your legs will move a little bit from inhale to exhale. Now squeeze whatever it is you're squeezing, but try to access subtle muscles so your movements are not like this. We're not asking for big movements. Big movements are easy and we generally do those. Anyways, we're asking for things that are a bit more subtle. Things that sort of take the muscles in the front of the spine and engage them just enough. They don't need to be engaged a lot to stabilize the spine. I think it's like 7% or something like that, 5 to 10. All right, next time you exhale, I'm going to grab the bottom of my list. I'm going to exhale. I'm going to pull the left side of my belly down towards the floor. It's an imaginary thing, so just go with it. And then the knees go to the right. And my arm stops me from going too far. And I'm going to do this a couple of times. Inhale. And then exhale, pull the belly up and then over towards the left. And I'm using my arms as a stopper because I don't really know how my back is going to do with this. I know we did some windshield wiper exercises and some little warm-ups going in and out, but now the middle of your spine is involved. So you've got muscles that may need a little warming up. So we're going to do this a few times. This probably doesn't feel very challenging to most of you. That's not really the point yet. Squeezing the block really mindfully will help engage more muscles. So if you need more strength work right now, for whatever reason, notice that my shoulder's not coming off the floor here. That's kind of something you're looking to achieve. When you're ready to take the stoppers off of your legs, you have some options. You can take your arms out to the side. You can take cactus arms, and you could even grab the other side of your mat if you want to and use this as like a counter. I'm going to do this just for fun. All right, so from here, I'm going to keep the knees over. Now, if my back starts to arch too much, that means I've kind of lost my grip, so I really want to keep, and I'm not pressing my back into the floor. I'm thinking more about the muscles at the base of my, or the front base of my spine moving up. So there's an upward movement. The muscles kind of move incrementally, is how I picture it. So as I exhale now, I'm going to take the legs over to the right. There's no stopper, so I can go down further or maybe not. But either way, when you come down, you'll take a little breath in, and then exhale, use the rest. So I wouldn't take a deep breath where the belly billows out. I would just take enough of a breath. Keep the belly engaged. Little breath in, and then exhale, back up. Now, of course, we can change this a little bit. We can straighten the legs to, maybe a little more than 90 degrees of the backs of the knees. So every time I make the big efforts, I'm exhaling, and then I pause to take a breath in. Some of you might already be straightening your legs at this point because you might know where this is going, in which case you're welcome to go there. Now, you can bend your legs like probably 100 different ways when you think about it. So if your legs are straight, just be careful about your foot position. You can't see my feet. Right now I have them flexed, but you can certainly do pointed. You can have them turned in. You can have flointed feet like this. I'm going to use a floint because flexing, this sort of plantar flexion is kind of overused in a lot of yoga, and so I'd like to encourage different feet positions. So as I exhale, I'm going to go down. I don't want my left shoulder to pop up really, but if it has to, it has to. It's not really a matter of safety so much as just testing your strength and flexibility. So if your shoulder has to pop up, that's fine. So we'll do this a few times. You can see how meticulously clean the bottoms of my feet are. Not that that should matter. And I can wiggle my toes at you. And then of course, as I come over, now again, you might still be using your arms as stoppers, which is totally fine. And I'm also noticing that my legs going over to the right is creating a little bit of resistance in my spine, and I don't love it, so I'm not going to keep going just for the sake of aesthetics. I'm just going to keep it where it feels safe. Let's do this 3 more times each side. Take a rest anytime. You're welcome to change the position of your feet too, or even of your arms, right? Isn't this fun? Yes, it is. I order you to have fun. So we'll do 2 more on each side. These should be slow movements. That's why I started you off with a slow movement that you were counting. It'd be cool if you counted and if you also held back on how far your legs went. The block is there for you to squeeze as passively or as actively as you want. But the squeezing tends to also bring some elements of safety. Okay, I think that's good. I just got a foot cramp. So what I'll do to counter this is do a little supported bridge. Pat your belly. Pat everything if you want. A little bit of tapping. And then let your feet do what they want. They can go out wide, they can windshield wiper or just stay still. I'll elevate the legs a little bit, but at this point, I'm going to pull the feet in just a tad. Now, if you have a longer spine or if you have pretty good ability to try to let the tail sort of reach towards the knees without scooping it up, you could use a higher point on your block or bolster or blanket, whatever you're using, and grab your ankles. Now I'm getting a little stretch in the front of my thighs here. If you want to do this of your own accord without support, that actually could be safer for some bodies, maybe many bodies. I'm just trying to get a stretch in the front of my thighs. There will be people who can pull in, but I would be very careful about that because it's really taken that knee flexion well beyond what is considered a pretty natural range of movement. So, and same thing, if your foot can do this, your foot has some hypermobility in it, so just be aware that that may not be right for your foot or your ankle. Cool. All right, let's flip around, shall we? Take your blocks or objects of relative hardness here. Okay. Now we're going to do some weight-bearing stuff. And so in weight-bearing, I like to make sure that when I'm in a class of new people or anybody that I don't know very well, that we test our weight-bearing stance with our hands. So if you let your arms come out here naturally, don't hug them in. Anyone can do that. But if you just see, like mine are pretty natural, my palms are facing forward, and I got one arm that kind of goes out here. That's it's my formerly crappy shoulder. It's a very good shoulder now. And part of why I've made a better shoulder is because I'm honoring this carrying angle in my arms. This arm doesn't go out so much. But either way, I know that this is where my arms naturally lay. I've got an angle coming from the elbow joint out to the wrist. And I'm going to turn my palms around. So I'm pronating here. And then I'll reach my hands forward. And I'm going to put them down. And that's going to be my new width for weight bearing. So if you're being told shoulder width apart by very well-meaning teachers of any kind, that's fine. And if you don't have that carrying angle, then shoulder width apart is probably right for you. But a good way to honor that angle and to get some safety in the shoulders and to get better stability so you don't have to rely so much on the shoulders. You can actually get a little more access to your chest and your upper abs this way. So check out, see my carrying angle has my fingers hanging off the mat. Who would have thunk it? So we're going to do some cat-cows. You'll also notice that my hands go in front of my shoulders so I can honor a safer range of motion in the wrists. And so I can do more things longer so my wrists don't hurt. So as we cat-cow, I like to tap my elbows to the floor, and I try to keep my elbows in line with the wrists. So I'm not interested in going out wider, and I'm not interested in going in. Going in might be, for most bodies, a bit more stable, but going out is going to be unstable for pretty much everyone. So as you cat-cow here, you may get the impulse to curl your toes under I'm not going to, though, just because I know it's coming. And I do this a lot. So as you exhale, you really want to feel those muscles in front of the sacrum draw up and in. And then right when they get to the rib cage, you could hover your knees just a bit. And then you can come down on the inhale. So if your feet are flat like mine, it may not be very comfortable. So remember, you can always curl your toes under, or you could even put something under the front of the ankle. So I'm going to come in a little bit. So the further your knees are out from you, let's say you're somewhat in more of a puppy pose, the harder it's going to be. So you hover. So if you want to make it harder, feel free. I'm not lifting the knees until I have a reasonable amount of support up into the middle of my spine. So don't get all anxious about lifting your knees until you get that support. Cool. Now from here, you could straighten your legs. Don't straighten them all the way if you're super hyper bendy, or at least try to have some awareness of what you're doing. And then you can come down real slow. We're going to count on an exhale. So your belly comes in like cat pose, but your knees and elbows come down. 3, 2, 1. And then you can stretch the shoulders out here a bit too. It's nice to use these little tarantula hands when you do this pose and press your finger pads into the ground. Creates a little muscle engagement in the shoulders, especially if you're super flexy like me. Good, and then come on up here. Okay, blocks. The blocks will do their stuff now. You can do these without blocks too, but. So we're going to bring the elbows down to the blocks. And when you're in forearm stand, honoring your carrying angle may not be as important. So you could have your arms in, hands a little narrower. So what I'm going to do from here is come to a dolphin. I'm technically in dolphin, but I'm in dog. If you cannot do that, remember you can always have your feet wider. That can be very helpful. Or you can have really bent knees, or you could have your knees in. Okay? So either way, cat-cow, except it's going to be more like puppy dolphin. Inhale, exhale. Again, the knees aren't lifting until I found support in the deeper parts of the stabilizing muscles of the core. So that way I'm putting a lot of stuff in here. Now, what were to happen if you were to take your hands from floating to your tarantula hands and straighten the arms out for a fingertip dog, and then take them back down, take the knees down. If that's kind of like no way, Jose, even though it's not my name, but it's fine, I don't take it personally. Take your fingertips down and work a few of these where you come up. Otherwise, you can always choose to come up, down, down, up, up. See how that works? So your fingertips were in place before your legs brought you to down dog. Okay, ready? Here we go. Inhale. And then exhale. Legs up. Take a breath to set the fingers. And then as you exhale, hug the elbows in. Draw the rib cage back. Pull. Try to think about pulling your elbows up instead of forward. Then come down with your elbows or your knees first. And then relax. Exhale. Little dolphin. Little finger pat. Exhale, hugging elbows in, coming down, and then taking the knees. Okay, we'll do 3 more of these. Remember, sometimes you have to move. Sometimes the blocks get a little movie, or you get a little bit scoochy. So I inhale to pause, and then I exhale to take this up. Take another inhale, and then I exhale to drop the elbows because I use the exhale to make sure the core is helping me not drop like a sack of bricks. Unless you like dropping like a sack of bricks. We all have our things. Okay, one more. This is really good for fingertip strength, for forearm strength, shoulders. If you can't use your fingertips at all, you just take your palms flat. I hope that was obvious because I didn't give you that as an option, but you're adults. You can figure this out. Okay, so yeah, I gotta do a little Doctor Strange hands to sort of get the fingers feeling normal again. And we're not done. We've got another thing. That's right, you're getting a full half hour. I'm not chinsing out on you today. All right, so now we'll do some sideways stuff, which is kind of like my favorite. So if side plank is not available to you, for any reason at all, then you can always avoid this. So you can do it with two hands down. You can do it with your forearm. Sometimes side plank seems unavailable because we're adhering too much to hands under the shoulder. And honestly, it's much more stable for the shoulder and better for the wrist to be hands in front. And the other reason tends to be you'll see arm bones pulling forward and you'll see elbows locked, which appears to be easier initially, but if you think about the shoulder blade drawing down the back towards the waistline of your support arm. In this case, it's my left arm. So I'm taking the bottom tip of my shoulder blade and I'm thinking of it like trying to kiss my hip, the top of my hip. It's not going to happen, obviously. And then I have a little buoyancy in the arm, so I don't want to be locked out. I could totally lock out, hyperextend, mess with my elbow joints, not have any muscular control of my shoulder blades or very little muscular control. You'll notice if you have a slight bend in the arm, you get a little bit more control back here. If you're locked out, you're kind of like, I can't go down as far, but I can do this a lot, okay? So anyways, let's see what we can do. We'll just have fun. You'll take the block under your left hip. We have a couple of options here. The left leg can be propped underneath you, and the right leg can be your anchor, okay? You can certainly take this left leg down anytime you want. And then this is down too, in case you don't want to come down all the way. All right? It's okay if you don't go with the full Monty. For me, the full Monty is no block. Move up a little bit. I still have a greater than 90-degree angle shoulder here. And I've got my left leg up like a flamingo. And I'm going to come down. This arm's going to bend, by the way. It has to. And then when I exhale, I'm going to here first. I'm going to hug the inner thighs in like Thigh Master. And then I'm going to lift. Take this foot down anytime, anywhere. And then, again, I have to have the shoulder blade down the back. And I have to have the arm bend. Let's take this the other way. You don't get to go as high, but that probably doesn't matter if this is not a movement you typically do. So we've got multiple options here. I'm going to go back to the other way. You keep going. I'm going to put my hair back. Believe it or not, my hair doesn't bother me, except when I'm videoing and I want you to see something. So again, from here, if you just want to come down, or you could do, and I exhale when I come down because I'm hugging things in. And then, good. Now if you want to, you could turn on your right foot to a two-limb dog. There's a lot of cat pose going on in my low spine to keep this going. And then you can take your right hand down, or maybe it already is. And then eventually you can be in a neutral position, dog. And then we'll take the other direction. So I'm going to move so I can see, you can see. Now it's the right arm's turn. The right shoulder is formerly sad. It is much happier now because I've learned many things to help keep it just as strong as the other side. So the right leg in this instance may be tucked under. And in fact, I'll do my first one like that all the time, just in case something's not right. Exhale. And then here I'm like, no, I think I'm pretty safe. I really got to work on the shoulder blade down and hugging the rib cage here because of the shoulder, but it's good. Sometimes having an injury teaches you things. And this shoulder in general is stronger, but not as stable, if that makes any sense. It has strength in certain areas, but it moves around a little bit too much in others. When it comes to this, though, I feel stronger. This is also how strong your side body is, too. So again, if you're taking forearm, come up, or I think both are valid and good to try. And then if you're in the mood for it, you can either roll to your belly, or you can come here, start to turn like you're going to dog, but you're in two-limb dog. There's a lot of work going on abdominally, pelvic floor, everywhere. Take your hand down when and if you're ready. If you're on your belly, that's great. That's where I'm going to the belly. So if you tuck your right arm underneath you, left arm out, you might be able to get a nice stretch. You might have to roll forward a bit. If the right knee comes up, pops up like so, you get a little bit more roll to the left. Might be too intense. I'm going to move out of these stretches quicker. You can stay in longer. I would. And the left arm can go under. And then, of course, if the left leg wants to sneak up, you might need that. Or you might try it and decide you don't like it. Good. Feel free to pause the video anytime. You can interlace the fingers, pull the elbows back. Shoulders kind of want to go down the back when you're in this type of position. I try to hold my hands together, palms and everything. And then I slowly let the hand snake down to the tail. I try not to lock the arms out. So I try to have my arms a little bent and then lift. Arms a little bent and then lift. I'm also lifting through the upper shoulder blades too. Good. And then you can relax. Now at this point you could kind of turn around and chill out in a Shavasana-esque state. Or you could move on to something else. A little core work perhaps. But otherwise, you should be feeling fairly energized, maybe a bit challenged. Perhaps you come back to this video to see if you can complete certain things either way. If I were to take an ending pose prior to Shavasana, it would do something where the inner thighs got a little bit of a stretch. So you could either take a floating bound angle, just a little bit of work here. You could straighten the legs a little bit or a lot. You could go back and forth. And I might even, probably should have done this before I went down on my back, pop forward into a wide-legged forward bend. Knowing, of course, that anything past about here is generally belongs to a population that is a little bit more mobile and flexible. So just remember that my baseline may not be yours, or probably shouldn't be yours, and that just because you can go all the way down and flat doesn't necessarily mean that you should, or at least that you should all the time. So this is where I'm ending. Hope you had fun. Come back sometime.